9 months ago, I had an idea to create a travel film driven by sound. Visuals almost always come first in the filmmaking process. They tell the story, and sound merely fills in the gaps and corresponds to what you're seeing on screen. So what if we flipped it? I knew I couldn't make this concept come to life on my own, so I teamed up with Stephen, Mitchell, and Tommy from TMS. I guess we just start at the beginning. Nay Bay. What stood out about Nay Bay for me was that it was the only rain we got. In the context of me having planned a video that was all about like mood and rain, kind of threw me off. Had to readjust some planning there. We also suited up with our yellow jackets.
These things never got some good use. It's all dry.
Okay, so me and Aidin have been sent on a mission to climb that rock. What are your thoughts on it?
Gets a little taller the closer we get to it.
Mitch and Steve are then gonna get a nice drone shot swooping by us, I think.
Okay, so we found this really cool spot on the way to another hike that we're about to do, and these are my favorite kinds of shoots, where you see something along the way to a different spot and you have to stop and shoot it. It's just something completely unexpected. I really want to get a top-down drone shot of someone crossing this log over here. And it might not be the best idea, but I'm gonna put the drone up and we'll see how it goes.
Quick update, Aidin is trying to get a photo, and he's getting really close to some trees, and he's probably almost crashed about 5 times now. He's crashing!
There's so much good footage from Nay Bay, and I just didn't use any of it. I think my favorite time-lapse of the trip was probably the one I shot from Cape Flattery.
We never really shoot that many time lapses, but Aidin had a second cam, a B cam that he'd set up when we were places, and it'd just be shooting off photos. And
I remember, like, we're there and the weather changes like every 30 seconds, not even every 15 seconds. It's a new weather pattern.
Short stay in Nay Bay and then straight on to Port Angeles, where our coolest
to probably one of the best
Airbnb
Airbnbs I've ever been in.
As sick as the Airbnb was, I think I was a little more sick. That was where things started to get really dicey.
You were like up at like really late, just in the kitchen, just sitting there, just waiting for this like sickness to pass over. And I open the door and you're standing there. I'm like, you good? Like, are you gonna die or something?
Yes.
It's not looking so hot.
I wasn't feeling so hot, B.
Alright, so it's now day 2. We've seen some sick views and we're staying in a sick Airbnb. But as you can probably infer, my voice has left me, unfortunately, but it's okay. We're gonna roll with it. No good shoot ever went to plan. And today we're doing a pretty exciting part of this video, which is the intro shot. And it's basically just a drone shot going through the house. So it's a little risky, but it should turn out pretty cool. So we've got Mitch behind the camera here, is gonna be here setting up a tent. Tommy's gonna be tying his shoe. Basically the idea here is just to have sounds that will make it obvious to the viewer that we're about to go on a road trip and go hiking. And we've also got Steve over here killing it on the FPV drone. He's gonna make sure not to kill us and to get a sick shot. So we'll see how this goes.
Drone's going up.
So we just did the FPV shot to intro the video. Steven absolutely killed it on the drone. Everyone killed it with the timing. Yeah, looks sick. So we're doing a sunset hike tonight. We made it to our trailhead. As you can see, it's a little steep. Probably gonna be pretty tricky, and we only have about an hour until sunset actually happens, and about 2,000 feet of elevation gain to climb in that 1 hour. So yeah, wish us luck. So we're about a quarter of the way now. Layer count has reached 1 for every single one of us, and we are all dying at the moment.
And there was all these ropes that we had to climb up, and it was all like slippery, kind of muddy shale that would just slide, and then like a nice fat cliff down the one side.
So we finally made it to the peak. We got Mitchell on the drone right back there, and as you can see, the view is absolutely incredible. This is one of the craziest views I've ever seen. Fitting to accompany such a difficult, strenuous hike, but it was worth it without a doubt.
We spent a couple days in the Olympic area, did just some forest hiking, and then moved on to Portland.
Yeah, that was a crazy day.
So it is now day 4, and we've come out to a pretty unique spot for sunrise. Look at this big plain in the middle of the forest. Not something you see every day. Alright, so we're hiking to a waterfall right now. We just made it down this rope section. Pretty intense, and now we're gonna walk along the edge of this river here. The water's pretty high, so it might get a little dicey. So apparently, the waterfall is right around this corner. Tommy thinks I'm gonna have a pretty hardcore reaction to it.
He might cry.
We'll see if he's right. I might cry. It's very true. Damn! The rays! That is wild. Those rays don't even look real.
The scariest FPV droning experience I've ever had in my life. Like careening down this crater and then trying to pull out before it hits the water.
It's so crazy because everything comes at you so quick, and especially coming down from up there down the waterfall, it's like you feel like a bird. It's like the craziest looking thing ever.
I can't imagine your fingers.
Oh, my fingers, I'm like I have to be fluid, and it's like hard because my fingers are just so cold.
The Beacon Falls is where I got probably my favorite shot that I got. I saw that the rays were like hitting this one rock, and Tommy's like on the other side of the little crater we in, so I just yelled as loud as I could, like, Tommy, get over here, just stand on that rock. And then I think one thing, I don't think we have any footage of it, but one moment that stood out, hiking back up the very muddy trail, hiking up the ropes, and this couple passes us, and they both have on brand new spotless white sneakers.
Air Force Ones. He had brand new Air Force Ones. Literally,
White.
That's probably their maiden voyage. That was probably, he bought them that morning and was like, I'm going to go hiking in these. I'd be hiking in my socks. Like, there's no way I'm going to put this on. Yeah.
That was painful. Oh,
that was
my
horrible.
God.
What was even crazier about the entire day was that we woke up for sunrise, hit the plane, spent like a few hours at the plane shooting, several hours at the waterfall. Then we actually went to Portland, downtown Portland, to get some shots for your video.
Yeah.
I didn't use any, but we went. And then after all of that, like several hours to make it to the Cascades. Cascades was interesting because it was two sequences that were like very important for my particular video. The fire tower was an important like transitional sequence. It's where the music changes, it's where the pace changes, and then the very ending, blue hour on the lake.
Yes.
I storyboarded that sequence. That morning that we shot that blue hour sequence was definitely the most stressful point in the trip for me. Just we all had so much to shoot, and like stuff kept going wrong. We were gonna shoot it the day before. The car got stuck, so we scrapped that.
Right. Yes.
And got the impromptu train bridge sequence, which turned out equally vibey. But then we had to push blue hour to the next sunrise.
I think that was also the last sunrise in the trip too. Like that was our last chance.
It was crunch time, dude. Even then, when we went to the lake that was right next to the Airbnb, we were going to hike to a trail that took us to
and then it was like non-existent.
Covered with several feet of snow, so like there is no trail.
Oh, right.
I think I was rolling for the entirety of blue hour because it's only like maybe 40 minutes. The last shoot of the entire trip with fire tower.
Oh, and then on the way down.
Yes.
We shot like the running sequence with the water and stuff, which looked really sick.
It's just hiking down, pitch black, might get eaten by a bear. I was like, yo, I had kind of like a night sequence idea. What if we like get a few shots for this? Just interesting visuals. We're like lighting up the individual trees as we were running through. That's what was interesting too, is just it could never be as simple as like, hey Steve, go and stand on that rock and I'll get a shot of you. Because there's no sound. It's such a part of the process, like even planning, like months before the trip, like what shots am I gonna need?
When we were originally planning it, we were thinking like, oh, can we get things done in time? Can we get everything ready to go?
Yeah.
And we were thinking like, okay, worst case scenario, we could push it till May sometime.
Nope.
But if we'd done that, this entire thing would
It
just
wouldn't
not have happened. It couldn't happen.
Alright, so now that you've seen the behind the scenes of the wild shoot that went into this video, let's take a look at the 2 months of editing that came after that shoot to make this video come together. Next week, I am going to be posting a before and after of this project where you can see the timeline and the raw video and all that. And in this video, I really just want to focus in on the editing process behind the video, particularly sound. This was definitely the most extensive sound design I've ever done for a video. In fact, I ended up with 31 audio tracks in Premiere by the time I had finished. Sound was not only my primary focus while I was editing this video, but also while I was planning and shooting. Throughout the entire process, I had to be painfully aware that sound was the key element here. And that emphasis on sound ultimately ended up manifesting in 4 ways: ambience, story, flow, and rhythm. And before we jump into breaking down all 4 of those factors in detail, I want to briefly talk to you about Epidemic Sound, which is not only the sponsor of this video, but where I sourced the music and sound effects for it. Epidemic Sound is without a doubt the best place to get sound effects for your project, and that's for a few different reasons. First, you can use their tags and categorical system to search for and find the exact sound effect you're looking for. And once you find it, they often have many different variations of the same type of sound. This is perfect for something like the map sequence, where every time we move that map in the shot, it's gonna sound a little bit different. So one paper movement sound isn't gonna cut it. I might need 5, 10, or even 20 of the same or a similar sound to complete that sequence in a realistic manner. So being able to search for that exact sound, find it, then scroll through a bunch of options and download the ones that are right for the project really speeds up my process when I'm doing sound design. The tags and categorical system also allow me to find very specific music. So for this project, I needed music that matched the mood of the video very well, but also kind of fell off into the background and let the sound take center stage. And Epidemic's categorical system and tags allowed me to find that exact track. They've got both a personal plan and a commercial plan depending on the projects you're creating. So if you want to try it out for yourself, check out the link in the description to get a 30-day free trial. But now that we know where our sound effects are coming from, let's talk about how we're going to use them, starting out with ambience. The sound design in this video needed to really immerse the viewer in the Pacific Northwest location. I wanted you to feel the density and the lushness of those Olympic forests and the power and scale of the Cascades Mountains and even the stillness of the Alpine Lake at the very end. One technique that I used to make the ambience in this a bit more immersive would be to take an ambient track, duplicate it, and offset it a little bit, and then pan one to the left ear and the other to the right ear. So you might hear a different bird on the left than you do on the right. And this really just makes it feel less like you're looking at something and more like it's around you, to the sides and behind you, and it just immerses you a lot more in the sound design. This also allowed me to give kind of a sense of space to the sound design. So for example, in the waterfall sequence, you hear the dog directly in front of you, but at the same time you hear the echo of that powerful waterfall off of the canyon walls to your right and to your left. But it wasn't as simple as just immersing the viewer in the location. I also needed the sound design to tell a cohesive, understandable story throughout the video. This aspect was actually less about editing and more about planning and writing. So before the shoot, I basically thought about the certain sequences we needed and then wrote down every sound that you would need to hear to understand what's going on in that important part of the story. So for example, in the intro FPV shot, what would you need to hear if you couldn't see anything to understand that these people are about to go on a road trip in the Pacific Northwest? That's why we set up that shot in such a way that you would hear the radio in the background giving the weather forecast, the tent being packed up, boots being laced up, the car being unlocked, and all these different sounds that establish to you, aside from the visuals, that we're about to go on a road trip. I did use a few additional kind of vocal sound bites just to solidify that story. So we have the radio voiceover in the introduction, we have Google Maps establishing that we're going to a trail, and then in the fire tower sequence we have a bit of actual dialogue that I just recorded and slapped into the edit. The idea was ideally to make a film that you could watch with your eyes closed and still have an idea of what was happening. But it also needed to flow smoothly from shot to shot, and for a travel film, that's a large part of the editing process, and I wanted to be able to do that through sound. So throughout the edit, I've used essentially sound design transitions. Some of them planned before we even filmed them, and some of them kind of just found in the edit. For example, we have the sound of ropes creaking, transitioning into the sound of a log creaking as Mitchell's walking across it. We also have the sound of the car driving on the road, transitioning into the sound of me zipping up my coat as the car pulls over. These sound transitions are something I've been toying around with for a while, but I wanted to really go all in with that concept for this video, and I'd say they're definitely a lot more difficult to plan out and execute than visual transitions. To plan out some of these, I would essentially write down on a piece of paper every single sound I could possibly think of that would be part of a sequence, and then literally just draw lines to connect the ones that could possibly sound similar. And finally, a factor that goes very much hand in hand with flow is rhythm. I deliberately chose very ambient tracks that would kind of syncopate into the background and didn't have like a percussive rhythm to them so that I could make the sound design solidify the rhythm of the video. I actually edited this entire video with a metronome playing in the background. So I downloaded a metronome that was the same tempo as the track, put it behind the entire edit, and then made sure that actions in the shot lined up with the beat, kind of creating a percussive rhythm to solidify the rhythm of that ambient track. So any shot that has footsteps in it or any other consistent repeated motion like that, where we have the blinking light, or even in this shot, the rate at which these windows are passing the camera lens, those actions happen on the beat. But everything I just talked about is a way that sound design could do things that visuals would normally do. Take the viewer to the location, tell a cohesive story. I wanted to do not just that, but just use sound design in a more creative way than I normally would. In the airplane sequence, that plane is definitely grounded, chilling in the forest, but you hear in the sound design of that sequence, we're essentially bringing it back to life. You hear it starting up, you hear the pilots talking in the cockpit, and you hear the plane take off. So in that sequence, sound is not only telling the story of what we're doing, but telling a story that's entirely different from the visuals. That's just not happening in the visuals. In the night sequence where we're running through the forest, what you hear is determined by what our flashlights illuminate. Just digging a little deeper than location and story and using sound design very thoughtfully and creatively. Finally, I used a lot of audio effects to enhance the existing sound design and make them serve the story a bit better. For example, if someone walks past you on the left side of the shot, then you'll hear that footstep sound start in the middle and then slowly move to your left ear. That's just a tool called panning in Premiere that you can use on any audio effect that I used an insane amount throughout this project. I also used reverb, particularly on the waterfall sequence, to simulate the sound of everything you're hearing echoing off the canyon walls around you. And I also used low-pass filters to muffle certain sounds, for example, creating that distant rumble in the Cascades Mountains. But that's gonna have to be it for this video. Honestly, so much has gone into this project that I could probably talk about it for hours, but I have to call this video quits at some point so it's not hours long. And I think that does a pretty good job of summing up how we made this project come together and what kind of makes it unique from other travel films, hopefully. And of course, just another massive thank you to everyone who made this project come together. There are links in the description to where you can check out the videos TMS made from this trip, and also where you can get that 30-day free trial of Epidemic Sound to try it out for your own videos. And I guess the best way to end this video off is just to acknowledge that this entire project came at kind of a weird time. It's all about getting out and going on an adventure, exploring a new place, which is not something we can do at all right now. But if you take anything away from the film, I hope that it inspires you once you can go out again and explore a new place, hopefully the outdoors, just to listen a little bit closer and think not only about the landscape you can see, but what you're hearing and what really makes that landscape and that location come to life. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this project almost as much as I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you later this week.